channel. Hey, you know what time it is, though, Press Fam? Welcome everyone to another episode of The Beatdown, the segment where two worlds collide. I am your host, Class. This is my co-host, Biggs, doing it big, baby. And as a friendly reminder, guys, if you guys like our content, you know what you can do? You can share, subscribe, leave a comment, or turn on your notifications to get the latest episodes. And in honor of Doctor Strange 2 and the mention of the Illuminati, we're mentioning again some more characters from the Illuminati. And I'll be representing Marvel Comics Neymar.
Oh, but I am Namor, ruler of the kingdom of Atlantis.
Alright, brief origin story time is kind of a love story. So, in the beginning, an explorer named Leonard Mackenzie went to go explore with his crew, and eventually they get caught up with a big rock or a big, big ice or something like that in their way, so they decide to blow it up. But little did they know, underneath that big boulder or that big rock or whatever the heck you want to call it, there was the city of Atlantis. And it crumbled onto them, and eventually the king asked Princess Zen, his daughter, to go explore to figure out what's going on. So she went to go check it out by herself without anybody else. She gets captured at some point, and then is held as a prisoner at that moment. Sorry. Eventually, her and Mackenzie, or Leonard Mackenzie, start falling in love for each other, start feeling for each other, and then eventually they conceive a child. She goes back to Atlantis with this child, and then the child is born, and thus Namor is born, and that is literally the brief origin story of Namor. Actually, a fun fact: Namor was one of the very first mutants to be ever created in comics. How about that? All right, powers, abilities, and feats. Let's get into it, people. He was a mutant / Atlantean physiology. Sorry, I always have a mouthful with that. Ambiguous physiological adaptation, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman stamina, superhuman agility, superhuman reflexes, superhuman durability, aquatic healing, radiation absorption, extended longevity, underwater breathing, aquatic telepathy, electrolocation. That's interesting. Augmented vision, super hearing, flight, atomokinesis, hydrokinesis, water emission, like a sprinkler system, bioelectricity. Now, what he means by that is that he can ooze out water, like ooze it out of his body, which is pretty crazy. Bioelectricity, that's pretty crazy. Aquatic life mimicry. So this is what it comes with. It has a sonar ability, he has hybrid sense, he has lateral lines. And here are the people he's fought. Atuma, Tiger Shark, Krang, Orcra, Fatum 5, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Liron, Lira, Byra, jeez, these names, and Piranha. Okay, so here's some impressive feats. He ripped a shark inside out, took a blast from Cyclops, drew blood from Sentry, drew blood from Icarus is an Eternal, by the way, and drew blood from Thanos. Okay, he's held his own against the Incredible Hulk on dry land and in the ocean. Okay, so how I see Namor winning this fight. This is going to be an interesting one because there's a lot of ways to go about it. For example, let's go old school comic styles on this, okay? If Namor wanted to, let's say, both are equally matched. Let's just get real. Speed, strength, everything like that, they're kind of equally matched. Aquaman might be a tad bit stronger, but as far as speed and everything, they're both equally matched, along with the Trident weaponry. I mean, they're both equally matched. Controlling ocean life, almost equally matched in that essence. But let's go with the kicker. So, let's say Namor decides to keep Aquaman preoccupied during their battle in the ocean. Let's say let's go that way. Namor could summon the piranhas. Now, in the comics, piranhas have actually eaten one of Aquaman's hands, and then he had to replace it with a hook. So I do believe that you could use piranhas to eat Aquaman in this situation. You might be able to eat his flesh or something like that for some apparent reason, which gives Namor an opportunity to really go to work. If he was able to take blood from Thanos, Icarus, and all those great characters, I have to believe he can take a lot of blood out of Aquaman, but he just has to keep him occupied enough so that way the piranhas can get a sneak attack, maybe from behind and everything like that, giving Aquaman a huge distraction in that essence. And let's talk about this. I don't think we ever mentioned this a lot, but Namor has more experience in the ocean because he was born and raised and bred in the ocean compared to Aquaman. Aquaman had, I believe he lived on dry land for a little bit. He was trained by his father, who's a lighthouse guy, but he doesn't know anything about aqua powers and everything like that compared to Namor's people who had taught him how to use his powers when he was a baby. So I have to think the experience might give him a few tricks here and there that Aquaman is not aware of, or he might be able, based on the fact that he's lived in the water more, he might have more control over the sea compared to Aquaman, considering that he was managing to able to control it for a very long time, I want to say, as he was a child, born and raised into it. Okay, so there's this conversation about mind control that Aquaman apparently could do. No, I'm sorry, I have to disagree. If Namor was able to handle the mind control of Purple Man, who's one of the strongest Marvel characters with mind control abilities, then I do have to believe that he's able to manage Aquaman's mind control abilities. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I do believe that Namor does have the strong will if he was able to control a man who was mastered in mind control. Aquaman is not mastered in mind control. Yeah, he can give somebody, mannerism or whatever, but as far as mind control abilities, that's not usually his bread and butter. Another thing is Namor can take it to the sky. Now, granted, both can't last that long on land as much without the water, but for a very, 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 very long time. But Namor could take this to his advantage in some essence. Now, Aquaman relies on the Trident to fly. Take the Trident away, and then you got Aquaman having to fall from the sky. Now, Namor could go throw Aquaman around a couple times here and there, which keeps Namor on land and ocean. He can manage to control the fight in every ability, in every kind of way in that way. So if he decides to use his flight ability, he could toss Aquaman around on the sky. Aquaman is strong and is able to leap, but as far as flight, he's not able to fly like Superman or anyone else who's usually normally able to fly. With Namor has the ability to fly and ocean, so he does have he has the ground and he does have the high up. If he gets into a situation where he's not really feeling confident in his ability to fight this guy, he could always just fly up and take some wiggle room. Aquaman can use the ocean, but Namor could just go a little further away to dry land if he wanted to at his speed with that flight. So distance and range gives Namor an advantage, but this is what I'm going to say. My point is Namor could toss him around in the sky, take the Trident away from him. That would give Namor the advantage. He could call the piranhas in order to eat Aquaman's body. There are a lot of ways where the experience of Namor's childhood is going to help him in this advantage, and I do believe with the piranhas, the experience and the flight that he has and able to take him into dry land or on water is going to give Namor the victory.
Time in the sun is over.
I'll be representing DC Comics Aquaman. Alright, brief origin story time, shall we? So, there was a man who was in charge of a lighthouse. And, one day he happened to see a woman in the ocean in a very terrible storm, so he decides to rescue her. He takes her in. Eventually, these two form a love interest. But of course, somebody has a past, and it happens to be the woman who was in the ocean. Never really explains why she was in there in the first place, but hey, it's all good. So eventually, these two have a child. Eventually, her secret comes out in that essence, and this is I'll explain why. So her child happened to have a very special gift. Their child had a special gift that the father wasn't aware of. One day, the baby falls into the ocean, and the baby could swim for some kind of reason. He was an infant. He was probably like 2 years old at the time. Again, the baby falls into the ocean. Father freaks out, tries to dive in, and then he sees his son is just chilling in the ocean, breathing underwater and playing with the fishes. So he's like, okay, what's this all about? Eventually, there are two different alternate versions of this, by the way. So if you guys want to look into it, there are different origin stories, but this one's the old school version. So eventually, mother dies. She's in her deathbed. She decides to confess to the loving father and the husband, hey, I came from the city of Atlantis, And I was banished by my people because I tried, interacting with the surface dwellers. And eventually I winded up here. And that was, and that's the brief origin story of Aquaman, I guess you can say. Eventually Aquaman goes back to Atlantis and becomes the king of Atlantis. So we're clear about that. But there's a whole story behind that, and that's not what we're really focused on. We're focusing on where he came to be. So, yeah. Let's get into powers, abilities, and feats, shall we, people? Control over marine life. Endurance, enhanced senses. Speed, wielder of the trident of Neptune. Invulnerability, meta strength. Atlantean hybridized physiology. Superhuman durability. Energy and heat resistance, superhuman stamina, superhuman senses, super speed, super strength, super reflexes, super leaping, accelerated healing, latent magic, which is interesting, magic resistance, life force connection, and here are the enemies, shall we? The list goes: Blackjack, Demon Gate, the Eel, Scavenger, Slizath. I'm sorry, it's hard to pronounce some of these names. They really go really crazy with these names. Creature King, Dead Water, and then sometimes they're just dead on. And Karam Wrath, Cordax, Siren, Hagen, The Thirst, The Trench, Fisherman, Triton, The Dead King, Ocean Master, and of course Black Manta. Here are some of his impressive feats. He's dodged Superman's heat vision. That's not something you can do as often. Harmed Swamp Thing using his telepathy. That's crazy. Swamp Thing is a pretty beast mode type of character. He took on the Justice League single-handedly. Okay? Wonder Woman, Superman, everybody. He took them on. That's not something you can do. Stabbed Darkseid in the heart with the Trident. That's one of the most impressive feats he's ever shown in comic history. So here's a fun fact. Aquaman's uniform is actually a prison clothes he wore to remind him of his heritage. Wild, right? So how I see Aquaman winning this one. Okay, so let's get real. Neymar is impressive, but Aquaman has done more impressive feats. Darkseid, he took Darkseid's heart. I've seen Namor do some crazy things, take on the Hulk and stuff, but take on a godlike being like Darkseid. Plus, let's not forget, Aquaman is more godly, and Namor is more mutant. And I feel like the god form in that way, or more of the godly kind of form, is much more stronger than a mutant form. I don't know. Even if he's half demi in that kind of essence, I still think that, Aquaman is a lot more stronger and powerful in that essence because he took on the Justice League as well. Let's not forget he took on the Justice League as well. Now, on top of that, he's more adaptable to the ocean and the dry land. Now, this is where it gets interesting, okay? Namor has a problem when it comes to dealing with the ocean for too long and dealing with dry land for too long. But with Aquaman, the only problem he has is with dry land. So, Aquaman taking the fight to a long fight in the ocean, it might irritate and bring a lot of problems to Namor's ability to control the fight and control whatever is around him, which includes the sea creatures, his ability to hold the trident. That's real. Aquaman's ability to hold the trident is boss-like style because he took on and hurt Darkseid with it. There isn't really a lot of Namor moments where you can say in the comics, I think, that he's really showed that the trident and him have really shown what it can do, or like boss-like abilities. Here's where I think we're going to get interesting. Now, both equally match when it comes to power, speed, force, all that stuff. Maybe Aquaman's a lot stronger, so he might be able to hold Namor down. He might be able to throw something much more stronger, much more bigger, when then Namor can actually handle. But here's let's go with the old school weakness. So, Namor actually does have a weakness to certain creatures, leeches, and they are creatures of the sea. So let's say hypothetically Aquaman decides to call the leeches as Namor decides to call the piranhas. Now, if the leeches get on to Namor, I think it's over for Namor because those things are going to blood suck him dry. And even so, if they don't dry him completely and they just drain him a lot, Aquaman's going to still get him like a shark that smells blood. He's going to be able to stab him with the trident. He's going to be able to toss him around. He's going to be able to take him out to dry land and kill him from there. Either way, Aquaman has the advantage in this essence. He has more of impressive feats. He's done more with the trident, I gotta say. Namor has taken on some strong beings, but at the end of the day, I do believe Aquaman has more control when it comes to land, or at least a little more in ocean than Namor does. So I will have to say this: Aquaman's gonna bury him in the ocean. As always, No Press fam, it's not up to me, and it's not up to Big. It's up to you guys. So if you guys like my argument, you know what you can do. You can hashtag Neymar. And if you guys like my argument, you know what you can do. You can hashtag Aquaman. As always, No Press fam, we really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys later. Peace.